All right, grown-ups, it's just our time. I love the babies, but to help you, I gotta speak my mind. This segment's here to help you grow with book reviews, lessons, and things you'll be glad to know. If your little one's restless or looking to play, send them to my other playlist. The read-alouds there will brighten their day. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Behind the Book, where meaningful reviews spark deeper, more meaningful conversations. Today, we're going to be reviewing Thank a Farmer. Now, if you have not done so already, be sure to check out the Read Aloud that aired on Monday, and then come right back here for this Behind the Book review, where we go beyond the pages to get to the heart of the story. In this review, we will be going over the glows, the things that I think she did so well, the grows, what I think could have been a little bit different, who this book is for, how to utilize it as a resource to have a more robust conversation with your little, all in this segment of Behind the Book, where we go beyond the pages to get to the heart of the story. You ready? Let's grow. Summary in my own words. Thank a Farmer is a dedication, if you will, a ode to farmers. It is a book of appreciation. It is a friendly reminder that we would not have our food. We would not be nourished in the same way if it weren't for the people who were farming. It's just one of those stories that warm your heart and make you grateful for the things that are around you, especially our food. Take home message, and was it clear for the target or intended audience? So the take-home message of the book is that so many things that we utilize day to day, not only food, but even like clothing, is attributed and connected to farmers, the work that they have put in to be able to provide that resource for us. I definitely believe the take-home message of thanking a farmer and being appreciative to a farmer is clear. The targeted age group for this book, the recommended age, is 4 to 8 years old. And for me, I would say because of the verbiage, I would go higher. And I'll talk more about that in another section. I don't think that a 4-year-old would fully grasp some of the paragraphs that are listed. So there's this section. Peanut pods grow underground. Diggers pull up plants, shake off soil. Plants lie upside down to dry. Pickers peel off pods, pop into the hopper. Vines lie in the fields. Peanuts dry and roast. Grind into peanut butter. Thank a farmer for your peanut butter, creamy and crunchy. The processes in which she explains some of what a farmer does in order to make that item are not clear for 4-year-olds. I do believe that there will be a better grasp in terms of understanding that process and being able to have a dialogue about it. When it comes to children who are a bit older, I would say even 6, because of some of the word choice and the details in the process. Still, I do think a young child would understand that there is somebody to be appreciative to for the things that are around you, your clothes, your sock, your milk, bread, so on and so forth. And I think that was very clear for the target audience of 4 years old. So in short, if you are looking for a picture book that a young child could understand in terms of gratitude on some level, I would say 4 years old works. If you are looking to have a more robust discussion and conversation around some of the content in the book, I would go up to 6 or 7. Glows. My favorite part of the review is the glows, and there were so many in this special book. One of the glows is really the artwork of the book. It was so beautifully done. I love that there is one main family, but in the background, so many different families and cultures are shown. It's really, really beautiful. I also feel like the images, I always say, as a reading specialist who works with children who are English language learners, who are neurodivergent, who are nonverbal, images play such a crucial part when it comes to picture books and getting the child to understand what it is that you're trying to teach them. And I truly believe that Monica did an amazing job illustrating this book, because it does just that. So they're gorgeous illustrations, but they're also really, really great illustrations for children who are trying to understand words and understand reading in general. And so those words and the pictures paired so well. Definitely one of my glows. The other is, I like for picture books, especially for younger children, it's not a story, meaning if it's not following like Once Upon a Time, beginning, middle, and end, I like the repetition. And so every page, knowing that she was about to tell you, like, thank a farmer. Hey now, you eating that? Thank a farmer. Hey now, you wearing that? Thank a farmer. I think she did a great job at really pushing in and honing in on how much farmers and farm workers do for us. And there was a lot that I learned from this book that it's not even that I didn't know it, it's that I didn't think about it when it comes to some of the things that farmers have and do contribute, which brings me to my third glow. I love that this book was not just based in fruits and vegetables. The other book that we had this week was I Don't Eat That, which is a book that I wrote and illustrated, but it focuses on food and it focuses on food origins and produce. It does not talk about how the same type of industry that is producing your socks is also producing your milk and that connection. And I learned a lot. And again, I don't even know that it's that I didn't know it as much as it wasn't on the forefront of my mind that, like, hey, if I'm wearing a cotton t-shirt, where did that cotton come from? Who milled that machine? So on and so forth. And so Maria really gets your brain flowing in terms of all of the things that we have to be appreciative for, especially coming from farmers who they really don't get acknowledged. And I love that. And I really appreciate that. Grows, or what I think could have been done a little bit differently. I don't have many grows for this book. In fact, I can really only think of one. The only grow I have for this book is some of the wording, and the flow of the wording is a bit challenging. Let me give you an example. She says, if you like rice for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, thank a farmer. Plow and flood the field, soak seeds, drop from fast flying planes, heavy seeds sink and sprout, drain fields to harvest, combines, cut and comb the stalk, separate the kernel, bank out wagons, catch the grain, rice is dried and stored. That is a bit challenging for most people. Even myself, some of these paragraphs I've had to read multiple times to truly understand the process she's trying to convey. Some of the word choices like hydro aquaponics. So she says for rooftop hives and honeybees, for hens and hoop houses, for hanging baskets full of fruits and vining vegetables, for shelves streaming with lettuce, for greens growing up, aquaponics. So I think sometimes what happens with authors who are directly connected to that topic is it becomes difficult to start at a blank slate. And so if I have no background in farming, if I have no understanding of how that process works, some of these paragraphs are harder to start to learn and understand that process. And so, yeah, that would be my only grow, is some of the word choices and the challenges in that. I do feel like it was a major saving grace that in the back of the book, she does provide additional information, I would say more geared towards parents or adults than children, but that additional information might help you to break down some of the words or some of the descriptions that are in the paragraphs. Still, all in all, the message was very clear, and I absolutely would recommend this story because if nothing else, it starts the dialogue and the discussion about all the things that we have and who we should be attributing those things to. There's a story I used to tell my kindergartners all the time. Every time they come into school, the floor is clean. The hallway floor is clean. But by the end of the day, it's nasty, right? So there's always trash and it's sticky. There's always something on the floor when you go home and that bell rings. But by the time you come back the next day, it's clean again. There's something called invisible jobs. Jobs that we don't see, we don't look at, we don't notice, we're not appreciative of because we don't see them in this big way as we do other ones. And I definitely think farmers fall in that category. And so Maria bringing light and bringing joy and awareness to all the work that gets put into giving us the life that we have is just really special. Super specific. I love niche books. Very specific, super special, very friendly, warm, and welcoming, and the reminder of gratitude. How do you use this book to have a discussion with your child? There are so many ways you can utilize this book as a resource to have a discussion with your students or with your children. One of the ways is to really break down the different processes. And so Maria does give paragraphs of like, how do we get rice, or, how do we get milk? And I think dissecting that with your little on that process and what that process means, maybe doing a bit more research, this this book would be good for a lesson like that. I also think it would be really good on just the general, what didn't you know came from farmers? Because there are things, again, that I haven't even discussed with my child or my students, like socks or cotton sweaters. We don't automatically attribute or connect to farmers and farm workers. And so I think having that conversation would also be really special. What stood out in the book for them? What did they like? What made them question, right, how they go about things? What brought them a sense of gratitude, if anything? I do think that this book is a feel-good book in the sense that, like, there is a bit of appreciation that can come from it, reading it with your child. I remember reading it with Addie, and Addie being like, farmers do so much. I want to meet a farmer. I want to know a farmer. And really connecting the two. And for me to be able to tell her, like, the author of the book actually comes from a bunch of dairy farmers. And she was like, can I meet her? And so removing the invisible jobs, because they're not invisible jobs, we utilize those things, and bringing light to the fact that people put in work, even if they're using machines, people operate the machine, is super important. And I think would hold a really great discussion with your child. Also, on the back of the book, Maria does give you resources. She has this section that says, thank you, farmers. This is a small survey of farming methods. There are many more types of farming. And so she goes over wheat, cows, lettuce, peanuts, rice, fiber, maple syrup, urban and vertical farming, and more. I would say that these paragraphs are definitely worded, it feels like, more towards adults. But if you read them, you can utilize that information to have a more robust conversation with your child about where their food comes from, what is it that they're eating, who helped to make that happen, so on and so forth. So I love that. Who should add this to their library? Honestly, I feel like it's a book that anybody can have in their library. It's not specific to one group of people or another. It truly is one of those universal stories that we should learn more and be more educated about in terms of the methods that are used to make our food or get us wool or the different things we need for clothes. So it really is a very warm children's book that can be gifted across the gamut. If you have a chef, they would enjoy this book. If you have a younger child who is learning about food and, they're picky and they don't understand how those processes work, this book would also be beneficial. I genuinely feel like this is a book that can go any route in terms of a gift or it being for your kid. And for this one, because it is so universal, there's so many different cultures featured in the background, so many different people. There's like this index in the back. I mean, there's just so much there that really you cannot lose getting this book. And so again, I am so grateful to Maria and Monica for their work, for their efforts. Thank you so much for letting us share. This has been Behind the Book, where we go beyond the pages to get to the heart of the story. Remember, on Friday, we have our Teacher Lady Speaks episode, which is a crash course in teaching your child or your students about food origin and where food comes from. Lastly, if you are new to my page, or you need the reminder, we run the Empathy Library, which is a pay-it-forward initiative. Essentially, you donate what you can, then books get purchased, and then they get given to children who deserve them and need them, but come from backgrounds that cannot afford them. It's a very straightforward method to getting educational resources to children in need, and we thank you for all you have already done to make that happen. Until next time, remember to enjoy the moment or go be a joy in the moment. Bye.